Everyone tells you to be realistic. I've been ignoring that advice since I was 8. Do you remember being a kid, sitting in front of the TV and watching those people live their big lives? And you just assumed that will be you. Not hoped, assumed. You had plans, you had dreams, detailed ones. And nobody told you you couldn't, so you just kept going and dreaming. And then you got older, a teenager, and maybe you started talking about it. And that is where these voices came. In my case, oh, we are poor. We are not like other Germans. We are immigrants from Eastern Europe. You don't have a father. That is not for us, Martina. And as a teenager, I remember looking at them thinking, okay, if that's what you believe, go on living that way. That has nothing to do with me. And they always called me weird and delusional for having big dreams. My whole life, and I wore it like a crown, even before Delulu was popular on social media. And today, I'm here to give you the permission to be delusional, to be greedy, to be unreasonable with what is possible for you in your life, so that you stop being polite about your own dreams and make reaching them inevitable if they are meant for you. Stay for the whole video. This one builds up and it only makes sense when you see the full picture. Here's what happens to most people's dreams. Somewhere along the way, becoming an adult, you stopped believing they were possible at all. Because everyone around you, parents, teachers, society, agreed on what is realistic for you. And you trust them because they are adults, they have experience, they have to know how this shit works, right? So it felt just normal to do what everybody else does. Thus, you make your dreams smaller and you put them into a realistic box. Maybe you even told yourself, yes, I'm mature, I'm responsible, and I'm smart. I know what I can reach, I know my potential. Okay, then where are you now? 15 years later, 20 years later, are you where you wanted to be? Is your childhood self happy? Or are you where they told you is reasonable to be? Those people telling you to be realistic, they are not wise or loving. They are just scared and bitter, and they want you to be scared with them. Your brain does this too, by the way. There is a reason why you always default to the safe option. Your brain is not trying to make you successful and happy. It's trying to keep you alive. It's wired for survival and not your dreams. Every time you have a big idea, your nervous system goes, that's unfamiliar, that's dangerous. Let's not do that. And then the people around you, the ones who love you and who hate you, confirm that instinct. Because we don't want no sheep to leave the herd. So it feels like truth. But it is just fear in herd thinking. So what happened to the kid that ignored those voices? I wanted to leave this tiny northern city in Germany, the most northern city you can find in the country, to live in the big capital. So I did. I wanted to study psychology, so I did. And I wanted to go even deeper in brain science and work in research. So I did. I wanted a real job, so I became a market research consultant, hated it, and quit after nearly 5 years. See, a delusion doesn't mean every step feels good and is successful. Some suck, but every single one of them was mine. Now here is the part where people say, well, that's easy for you. You have such a privilege. So let me be clear here. Growing up, I had no father. My mother was drowning in her own problems, and I experienced abuse and neglect as a child. I was not set up for this. There was no trust fund at the bank when I get older. There wasn't even pocket money. No connections, no safety net. I started working at 14 when I gave flute lessons to an elementary school kid to earn some pocket money. At university, I worked as a promoter and host in events for €8 an hour so that I could save money to make my dream come true to go to Japan and do at least couch surfing there. €8 an hour. That was the exchange rate for making my dreams come true. I worked for the Delulu. That is what people miss about delusion. They think it means sitting on your couch manifesting a Porsche. No, you are working. You are always working for something. So either you are working your ass off for a system that doesn't even like you and a boss that will replace you when you're dead, or you work for your crazy ideas. Both cost you. Both are hard, but only one of them is yours. So why does delusion actually work? I studied psychology and neuroscience, so let me give you the boring answer first. There is something called the frequency illusion or Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. You know the example when you buy a red car and suddenly you see red cars everywhere? These cars were always there. Your brain just didn't care until it became relevant for you. And your goals work the same way. The moment you decide, not just daydream, but really decide, your brain starts filtering for it. Opportunities, connections, open doors, they were always there. You just weren't tuned in. Like when I wanted to go to Japan a second time and there was kind of no couch surfing anymore, but I had no money for hotels in Tokyo. So I suddenly found an exchange program that was always there, but I didn't realize it. And then confirmation bias does the rest. Once your brain believes it's true, it starts looking for proof that it is true. And that is why rumors work so well. Imagine there is a rumor that one person's biggest dream is coming true right now. Suddenly, you will find proof for that everywhere because you don't doubt it. So if you believe your dreams are unrealistic, guess what? You will find proof for that everywhere. But if you believe they are inevitable, your brain will start looking for that. That is Delulu. That's delusion. It is not magic. It is your brain doing what it always does, just pointed somewhere useful for once. But here is where it sometimes gets dangerous and sad. It is not the delusion itself that you might have in your heart, but it's the people you share your heart with. Because to be honest, the people closest to you will probably be the biggest dream killers. I was with someone for 9 years. I loved him. We wanted to marry. And for a very long time, I was the version of me that he liked. The cute girlfriend, agreeable, easy. I was always supporting him and his dreams, cheering him on. And I kind of expected that he will do the same for me. But the more I started opening up the real me, and I needed therapy and courses and workshops for that, the more I realized he doesn't care. He doesn't ask. He doesn't want to know more. When I talked about my dreams, his answers were realism and advice. Living in Japan? How should that work? We just moved together. I don't want us to be apart. I want to stay with you forever. And that sounds romantic, right? That sounds like a man who cares, who prioritizes our love. But what it really meant? Your dream is a problem to solve, not something I want to support. Back then, I didn't see those small red flags and I was holding on. I just convinced myself that is how relationships work. I couldn't believe that it is possible to have a partner who supports your biggest dreams, even if that maybe means being apart and everybody is doing their own thing. And then we separated and I found someone who does the exact opposite. He wants me to go for my biggest Delulu goals. That is his love language, and that is the reason I am growing in that relationship and not shrinking. And he is inspired to think bigger for himself as well. That is what happens when two delusional people find each other. They don't compromise each other, they expand. So here is what I need you to hear. Don't tell your Delulu dreams to normies. I mean that. Tell your dreams to the crazy people you know. The ones your boring colleagues would call childish. The ones who hear your biggest dreams and they are excited for you. Maybe they even have ideas. Talk only to them. Or talk to the wind, talk to the trees, talk to your cats, or to your journal. But do not dilute your delusional convictions with the bitter thoughts of realistic people. I beg you. They will never get it, even when you try to explain because you want them to understand. Now, there is something else that I said in the beginning that I haven't explained yet. I told you to be greedy, and some of you heard that and maybe went, what? Every year, I choose words that I want to focus on for that year. Last year was my life as an experiment and maximalism. This year, I sat down and wrote cheeky and shameless. And then I started working on my vision board, which isn't a typical board or piece of paper, but it is an infinite whiteboard where you can scroll and zoom forever. And I just started copying things on it. Anything that kind of caught my eye, no planning or anything. Funny dresses, wild jewelry, images of the house in Japan and the shops close by, tattoos that I want to have, Photoshopped images of my YouTube channel with thousands of subscribers and engaged comments where people are sharing their boldest dreams and where we are talking to each other. Me on the stage at a speaking event, drawing that I once made, pictures of my grandma, signs from the universe, cats. And when I zoomed out and looked at all of that, there was so much. Isn't that too greedy, Marty? You can't want all of that. Who's talking here? That's not me. So I added greedy to my words. Cheeky, shameless, and greedy. And I want you to be greedy. Now, someone watching this is already thinking, greed is the sin. It is one of the 7 deadly sins. Be humble, be grateful. Okay, who taught you that? Maybe you heard it at church from the Bible. While the church is one of the wealthiest organizations on the planet, here is what I am sure of. Those people who tell themselves they shouldn't want too much, they are not the ones who will destroy the planet when they get more. They are not the selfish narcissists walking around and just taking everything. They are the ones with dreams like, if I could have anything, I would live a self-sustaining life on a farm with animals and fruits and vegetables. I would go back into my home country and found an organization that brings real diversity and equality into politics. I would show my grandkids what it means to be abundant and help others in need, so that they learn from childhood on to pay it forward. That is the greed I'm talking about. And those are the people who are holding themselves back, not the takers, but the givers who won't allow themselves to receive. But the first step to receive is to want it. And I chose this word greedy because it is so emotionally charged for me as well. And those materialistic things, want them. Why not? Nice clothes, a beautiful apartment, a lush garden, good food. That is literally the world rewarding you for being here. Don't wait for someone to provide for you or to hand it over. Want it and go for it yourself. And if you're thinking, Marty, but what if I try all of this and I fail? What if you go for the big delusional goal everybody warned you about and it doesn't work out? What if you fall? My darling, what if you fly? I don't believe in failure, at least not in the way most people think about it. There are experiences that hurt, that make you cry, that make you angry, that make you want to quit. Some things take longer than you thought. Maybe some things don't work out. Maybe there is illness, maybe there is loss. But what if this is the way? What is not meant for you will fall away if you let it. And looking back, you always know. You know what was really meant for you and what you were just holding on to. The person who says they can and the person who says they can't, both are right. So why would you ever choose the second one? And I want to leave you with a small anecdote. A friend of mine, a brilliant woman working at a university, sent me a voice message some weeks ago. Marty, you are the only person I could ask. Is it really okay to be delusional? I want to be a professor. I want to write that book. I want to give courses. But then there was this senior colleague and he told me I should stop being childish. I'm like Pippi Longstocking. He called her Pippi Longstocking like that's an insult. Pippi Longstocking or Pippi Langstrumpf, the girl that sings Ich mache mir die Welt, wie sie mir gefällt. Or I make the world the way I want it to be. That's not an insult, my friend. That's a calling. You always work for something. So please work for what is yours. Be delusional about it. Be greedy about it. Be the weird friend. Be the crazy uncle. Be the Phoebe in your friend group. I want you to stop shrinking, because one day your grandchildren will either inherit your courage or pay for your cowardice. And realism sucks. It sucks the life force and the creativity out of your potential. Don't let it. Let courage win instead and see where it takes you. Thank you so much for listening to my long, wishful rant, and I hope there is at least one of you who might be delusional enough to go for your dreams a little more after listening to that video. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next one.